Hi guys, Penny Rose Journals, how you doing? Well, here's a big tub of shredded paper. I bet you can guess what we're doing. We're going to make some paper finally. Yes, I have 2 of these. Let's see how much we can get through. The other things we need aside from our shredded paper is a mold and decal, which I am going to have to make. So I will do that on camera for you. And a blender. And some buckets and a big tub and water and all that sort of stuff. But this is the blender I'll be using. Not using the food processor bit, but it has to be on there for the thing to run. This is what I'm going to make my mold and decal out of. Now I used to have one, could not locate it because it's been years since I've made paper. So I went to our local store, Kmart. Australians will recognise this brand. And just picked up 2 cheap canvases, and that's what I'll be using to make my mould and decal. What I will do is take the canvas off the frame and just use the frame and that fly screen, which surprisingly is infinitely cheaper than going to the hardware and buying the wood and building them from scratch. So that's why I do it that way, and they're both exactly the same size, no effort required. You can see here I've pulled off the canvas, popped the fly screen over one and stapled it on, and we have a mould and decal. Let's get some of this paper shredded up, shall we? I'm just using dry paper here, lots of water and a little handful of dry paper. Put the lid on securely and blend. It's very simple. I do this and just pour it into a bucket next to me until I've got a fair bit in the bucket, and then I will take it outside to where we're actually making the paper. Very noisy process, won't subject you to too much of this. If you want your paper to be finer with less little papery bits, then soak your paper first. It comes out finer if your paper is pre-wet. So I do that in the end. I didn't do that in the beginning while I was filming because, well, I needed a dry hand to hold my phone, and it was just easier to do it this way. So yes, we'll blend it up, throw it in the bucket, and blend up some more, and then we'll get ourselves some time outside to actually make some paper. Alright, here we are. This is the tub I'm going to make paper in. There is my mould and decal ready to go. There's my paper press. Someone I knew who was formerly a boilermaker made that for me. There's my couching material. You do not need a paper press to make paper. I have made paper without it. It just helps to make it flatter and more compact. Okay, let's pour the paper slurry into the water. The paper slurry at the moment is sort of quite thick and creamy. Once we put it in lots of water, it's going to be very dispersed, and we're going to use our mould and decal to pick it up. Now the mould is the piece with the fly screen. The fly screen portion of it will face upwards. We don't want to fill the frame that's underneath the fly screen full of paper. We just want a flat surface of fly screen. We put our decal over the top and we sort of scoop up some of the water with the paper slurry and let it run through. Now the mould will hold the paper, the decal will hold the paper inside the mould. Then we can take the decal off and tip our paper out onto our couching material. So we drain off as much water sort of as we can before we grow bored with it. Take off our decal and we move over and tip our paper off. Now I can't film that bit right this second. I will move on to that after I have filmed the picking up of the paper slurry. Yeah, I couldn't move the camera around, it's on a camera arm. I'm alone. Well, there's our piece of paper. I'm putting another piece of couching material over the top. I just use bits of old shirt that I've cut to size. You know, if you're a professional paper maker, you use proper couching material. This, because it's textured, will leave a mark in there, much like embossing. So, yeah, it's just what it is. I'm not a professional, I just use what I have lying around. So, yes, all my couching material is cut out of old shirts and whatnot that I have. So, yeah, you just repeat this process and stack it up page by page by page until you have a little stack, and then you move on to the next bit. As you tip your paper mould downwards onto the couching material, you use another cloth to just soak up some of the excess water. I do this however I feel like. Quite often I will lay a strip of fabric or a bundle of fabric, not like I'm doing here, but in quite a long length all the way across, and squash it down and just pick up as much water as I can, squeeze it out, go back again, go back again, go back again. You get as much water out basically as you can, and then you can pull your mould off. If the mould sticks, I just flick it with my fingernail, you know, like you would flick somebody's forehead. If you're a mean child. Yes, I just flick at it until it sort of lets go of the paper, and then it peels off pretty easily. So yeah, there's that. Then another piece of couching material, and then we make another scoop in our slurry water and pull out some more paper. When I am squeezing the water out with a piece of fabric, I wring that piece of fabric back out either into the water bath or into a bucket next to me to take inside to blend up more paper later. It's a closed system. There's no more water going in and no more water coming out. So if I keep on putting fresh water into my blender inside and bringing it out and throwing it in my tub, then I'm going to end up with this overflowing tub of water. So I do try to take some of the water from the tub out this way and take it back inside to sort of recycle it, else I'm just going to end up with so much water I don't know what to do with, and well, it's not good for water consumption, and it's not, you know, convenient for me to be scooping water out and throwing it in the garden. So yeah, just the way I do it. You can do however suits you, but I'm cutting buckets, damp buckets of paper and water and stuff through my house all the time, so it just depends if you're okay with that, I guess. And another piece of couching material, and back into the water slurry we go. I don't actually recommend pressing your water out of your paper like this by rubbing across it. It moves your paper slowly around too much. You're much better off just dabbing at it. You can press quite hard, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend rubbing at it. It just pulls it closer through the mould really, and makes your mould a bit more difficult to get off. So yeah, pressing is definitely a better idea than rubbing. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, mould off, and another piece of couching material. Yeah, I do quite a few more, but my camera is about to cut out. This is the last piece you'll see before we move on to the next bit of footage. Okay, we've given the camera a little bit of a rest, readjusted where we're looking, and yeah, fetched another bucket full of paper slurry. So I am going to proceed to make a few more sheets. Yes, I'll leave you focused here on the tub for a few sheets, and then we'll move back over to where I am tipping off the paper onto the couching material. Yeah, unfortunately I can't film all of it at the same time, else it would be much more disjointed, or much less disjointed, should I say. So yeah, you'll notice here my paper slurry is quite bitty. I don't mind it like that. I like the little bits of paper in it, so you can see what it's made of. If you like your paper more well blended, then yeah, I guess just blend it more. But yeah, I'm quite happy to see where it came from. Being as you're focused on the tub here, every time I go to tip the paper out, I'm just going to skip that bit and come back to the tub. There's just so much of me squeezing bits of water back into a tub that you can probably stand watching. Okay, we're back. My camera's cooled down, I've got more paper slurry, and we've refocused onto our couching material where I'm going to tip the paper off of our mould. So yeah, this is just going to be multiple sheets of paper being tipped off basically. This is how I normally wring the water out of it. With this sort of long bundle and working my way upwards. Put some pressure on it, get some water out of the paper as we go. So we'll do a few pieces like this. I'll cut out the pieces that you've seen before where I was actually fluffing about in the tub, so you don't have to watch me doing nothing over in the corner between paper pieces. Yeah, more on how I make my paper, I guess. Most of this is shredded office paper. Some of it is shredded scraps of paper that just are not appropriate for whatever I'm doing or keeping, or sometimes I will get the confetti from the bottom of my drawer, my scrap drawer, and put it through the shredder as well. So, but mostly it's shredded office paper, and sometimes torn paper bags, and just stuff that's around. I've got a lot of phone bills and bank statements and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, it's just to put through the shredder, and then I use it for either paper making or I use it to mulch my garden. So either way, it gets used. So occasionally I do tint my paper. Occasionally you'll see a pink tint or a yellow one or a teal one or something like that. I don't use dyes or anything to do that. I use napkins, funnily enough, or coloured tissue if I have them. I have a packet of bright yellow napkins and a packet of bright pink napkins, and I've noticed that if I put a couple of napkins in with my paper slurry, I get a slight pink tint to my paper. I am not going to use a bright pink napkin in my journal making. It's just not my thing. So they do come in handy for certain jobs, and this is one of them. It helps me tint my paper. I don't want my paper to be, hot pink, but to have just a slightly pink tinge to it, I quite like on occasion. So that's how I do that. I will shred up a couple of napkins and throw them in with my paper slurry when I put it in the blender. Speaking of blenders, full disclaimer here, I use that blender. Every paper making video I have ever seen, they're like, you must have a dedicated blender for your paper and nothing else. Look, it's good advice, I'm sure. I'm sure there's good reasons behind it, but I have neither the space or the resources to have, several kitchen items for different things. I just clean it thoroughly. It completely comes apart, and I can get it completely clean. I don't worry about it, but if it's something that concerns you, definitely, maybe it's worthwhile going and buying a second blender. I maybe make paper every couple of years, so I don't really see the need to have a second blender, but the advice is out there. Okay, refocusing on the paper press this time. I'm just going to pick up my bundle of paper and couching material and slide it into my paper press. Now you can do this with a big couple of planks on the floor, as long as you've got a piece of wood or something that's big enough to put your paper down on, that's flat, and you've got something else big that you can put on top and then stand on. Done. This little doohickey is just doing it for me. I don't know that it's easier or harder or what it is, but currently I have too much paper under it, and so I'm going to have to take some out. I can only do a certain amount. Whereas if you're standing on a couple of boards, you can do as much as you want. Okay, I had to take some of that paper out of there. New piece of couching material over the top, and then I just put the top of my paper press down and extend the screw to put pressure on the paper. Basically, this just squashes the fibres of the paper together, makes it stronger, also gets a lot of the water out of it so that it dries quicker. But you can do this without this process at all. You will have big sort of fat paper that probably won't be I guess as structurally strong, but I mean, what are you doing with it? You're not making a kite, you're making a journal. So I don't know. I don't know what you want from your paper, but this really is not necessary. I do it because I like my paper to be kind of flat and less bulky. But you can do it quite successfully without, or like I said, you can actually just put it on the floor on a flat surface and put something flat over it and stand on it. It will have the same effect. It just squeezes some of the water out and compacts your paper. So I do this, squeeze the water out, then take it out of this thing and go and put it on my drying rack. So yeah, next stop is the drying rack. And here we are, the drying rack, which just happens to be an old fence panel, just supported by a couple of garden chairs. I do have wire over it, just stops the paper from sort of being too wrinkly. And I put another fence panel on top to stop it blowing away, because it gets quite breezy here because I live near the coast. So yeah, there we go. There is our first batch of paper. And now it's dry. With the magic of television, it is now dry. And we are back in my office, in my craft room, and I'm just showing you a few pieces why they're still stuck to their couching material. There is nothing that is more satisfying than taking a piece of dried paper off of a piece of couching material. It just comes off so nice. It's a very nice feeling, I don't know. The fibres of the paper stick to the fibres of the fabric a little, and you kind of have to tease it off in the beginning. I tend to pull it with my thumb and forefinger and use my other fingers to sort of push the paper away from it. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it looks good, it feels good. I really enjoy this part. This is my favourite part of the whole process. And then you end up with this piece of very deckled paper that is kind of wonky and bent and textural and interesting. So I just take these away and put them under a pile of big books to flatten out once I've pulled them off of their couching material. The couching material itself will go through several sheets of paper before I'm finished, because when I decide to do this, I'll do it for a good couple of days straight. It just gets used and reused. It's always dry when it comes in with the paper, so it goes back out for the next round. But when I'm finished, I'll just throw the whole lot in the washing machine, lay it out in the sun, and then put it away for next time. But yeah, there's our paper. This is just the plain paper. There is nothing in here that I didn't colour it, didn't tint it at all. I will show you some of the tinted pages. I did do some pink ones, some yellow ones, and some blue ones. So I have a bit of a selection. But yes, this is just a few. I will show you the bundle that we managed to create over 2 days. And hopefully that was a satisfactory explanation on how I make paper. If there's anything I missed or didn't explain clearly or whatever, please feel free to ask in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, it's one of these things, I know how to do it. I do it quite often, yeah, you forget sometimes the questions that people might have because it's just second nature. So yeah, there's some of the papers, there's some of the pink. Yeah, you can see it's tinted slightly pink over the rest of the paper. So there's an even pinker piece. Clearly that one had a lot of slurry in it. So yes, I did tint a few. But all in all, I have a nice stack of paper that will probably last me a good couple of years, let's be honest. I don't use that much of my own handmade paper in my journals, and yeah, I'm very happy and I'm glad to be finished, because yeah, as enthusiastic as I am going into this process, by the time I'm finished I'm always just done with it. That's what comes of doing it for a couple of days straight. But it's an enjoyable process, and it's a good way to scrap paper. So here is the stack that we managed to create over 2 days. So I've got plenty to work with. Keep in mind, by the way, this is not commercial paper. It is all different thicknesses. There is quite thick ones, there is quite thin ones. There's even ones with holes in them, but they're all usable. So yeah, I'll just go through and show you some of the colours and textures, and yeah. I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, hopefully I see you again next time. Thanks guys, bye.